Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is near the 12 o'clock hour, and I am with Miss Tamara Rasheed. And we welcome to a place to consider.com, Tony's Hiller International Ministries, where we invite you to consider another perspective. I'm your host of the day, Reverend Dr. Tony Hiller, and so good to introduce Miss Tamara Rasheed, who is a women's empowerment speaker. She has an 8-time best-selling author. She has self-published 20 books, and she is here today to really help us in our Survivor series. This is our first Survivor series that we're beginning with her, dealing with overcoming trauma. So nice to have you here, Miss Tamara Rasheed. So good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really enjoy it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Miss Tamara Rasheed and I got to meet a few weeks ago, and we just kind of clicked. We become like sisters from another mother, and she
Yes.
truly has ministered to my heart, and she has helped me with some things, and so that kind of led to her being the first person on our Survivor series because I believe that the one thing that you can change that will change everything is your mind, and so as we have had private conversations, it led us to this public moment where we want to be able to help encourage somebody else, a woman, a man, anyone in whatever stage or age they're in their life, to be able to overcome trauma and really kind of step into their success and lean into their prophetic Goshen. So now 2021 is a perfect time. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Tamara, and what led you here as an overcomer of trauma.
Well, I had a very interesting childhood to begin with. So I was actually raised neglected, abused, and isolated from the world. And I can say that with a smile on my face now because I know the seeds that God planted in me despite my circumstances. I actually was able to turn my unfortunate situation and my uncertain times into an unfair advantage in my life because of that. So, um, my mother had decided to opt out of parenting me and my 7 younger siblings,
Mm.
um, at, uh, around the time I was 12 years old,
Mhm.
and, she had already decided that she didn't want me to go to school. It was my job to watch her children, and so I regularly struggled with value, with purpose, with why God put me here. There
Mm.
was so much I wanted to know and so much I wanted to create in my life, and I didn't have any kind of template. And so the beauty in that, which I didn't realize until later, was that if no one has those expectations, then the sky is the limit. You can create anything you want because
Mm.
no one is putting those barriers in your life. There are no barriers, no ceiling, no floor, right? So, in that mind space, I looked for everything in my environment to empower me, to feed into
Mm.
me and create, a fabric of value. And before I knew it, by the age of 10,
Mhm.
I had taught myself my basic skills. I learned how to read and write, and I was actually writing stories from the age of 7. I was creating these
Mhm.
little books out of notebook paper and stapling them together.
Yeah.
And my mother decided to go back to school at the age of 40. So when she went back to school, she had
Mhm.
carpal tunnel in both hands. It was so bad she couldn't type, and that
Mm.
was far before talk to text. So she was really stunted in her growth. She didn't know what to do, and she brought a computer into the house, hoping she could type her papers, but wasn't able to. And
Yeah.
I actually learned how to type instead. I didn't, it had nothing to do with her and her schooling. I was typing so that I could type my stories and
Yeah.
put them on that floppy disk, you know,
Wow.
because the little notebook paper was falling apart. So once I did that, I learned how to type. I typed 111 words a minute at 11 years old, and it
Wow.
sounded like reels on the keyboard. So the first thing that happened was I got yelled at because it
Mhm.
sounded like I was tearing up the computer, but I wasn't. I was creating my fingers.
Yeah.
So my mother gets up and she looks and watches me type. And that's when she decided she was going to give me access to her college education when I was 11 years old. And that changed everything in my life.
Wow. So she gave you keys, right? But what without even realize she was giving you keys.
She didn't even know she was doing that, which is how I know it was divine.
Yes.
I know that it was a seed planted for me.
Wow, wow. And so to kind of go into your story of how you said that you were able to empower you, right? You were able to empower you. What would you say to someone who is struggling with getting out of their head, right? About because you said something very vital that your mother opted out of being a mom to you in the way that you needed or the way that you would have liked. And so, what does someone do when their story, right, their blueprint is
Yes.
not what they want it to be, and although they have moved through it, but they can't overcome it? How would you encourage them to use the keys, or to really seek to understand that they have keys in their hand, they have access, they just have to get out of the story?
Well, the first thing I would want them to know is that many times we're kind of ruled by our emotions.
Wow.
And that's actually when when you feel yourself being pulled emotionally towards something, that's your cue to stop, think, and look at what the motives are. If something is drawing you emotionally, that's when you have to think about motives. And so when we come from trauma, that's what we're used to. People draw us in by our emotions. And
Yeah.
so the first thing I did was get emotional control. My emotions don't tell me what to do. I tell my emotions what to do. I use my brain to
Yes.
tell my emotions how to, you know, react. I don't do that the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the first part. Get your emotions in control. Then the second thing is then to get your mind in control. Because without your emotions being in control first, you will not be able to think clearly.
So, what is the difference between mind and emotions?
Well, okay, so your mindset is
Hmm.
typically uh wired for you at a certain point in your life. As you grow up, people connect those wires in your brain for you, and you don't really have a chance to create your own processes. So
Hmm.
thoughts going through your mind are usually the thoughts of your mom, or usually the thoughts of your dad, your grandma,
Yeah.
and they're not every time you have your own unique creative thought, you will beat it down yourself with the thoughts of other people that don't match,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know? So
So,
you have to learn how to value what you bring into your life
hmm.
by giving it a place, kind of getting all those other thoughts out of the way and
Yes.
including a place for it. So that's where that difference is. Your emotions are they change so rapidly.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Depending on just day to day, you can be angry one second, sad the next. In a situation like that, you don't want your emotions all over the place. You need
Right.
to be able to reel them in. So, in terms of difference between mindset and emotional control, they're just two completely separate parts of the way you process what you're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess
So
I
they
would say
need
that the
different attention.
emotions are you know, the unfolding of what's happening, right? And then your mind and your mindset is where they're living. And so you have to
Yeah.
control, your atmosphere, where you're living, what's living
Yeah.
inside you.
Yes, that's another vital part of that is your environment, because your environment is going to fuel your inability to have that control emotionally. And it's also going to prevent you from rewiring your brain
Hmm.
toward more positive, growth oriented and healing oriented things. When people around you don't want to heal, or they're not open to healing, or
Yes.
they can't bring healing into their lives. They're just not able to accept that. That's how my mother was. She was very, very traumatized and just was not able to accept help. She just
Wow.
could not. And so that was something that I had to learn to love her for.
Mm-hmm.
That her pain was so bad that she just could not see past it. You know,
Wow.
it made our relationship really difficult. And the last 6 years of her life, I
Mm-hmm.
could not have a relationship with her because of that. You know,
Wow.
it was really difficult for me. But, at the same time, I understood that she could not get herself to a point to get help. And I knew I didn't want to be that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't want my trauma to be so bad in my life that I could never seek help.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
that changed that pattern for me.
Mm.
I changed that pattern.
Yes, and I love that you said that you changed that pattern because people don't realize that you change, you get to change. You're responsible. Your response is your responsibility. I tell people that all the time in my work. And so you do a lot of trauma coaching. I do a lot of soul work. And so I tell people your response is your responsibility. And that's
Yes.
brave that you took the courage to say, hey, I love my mom, but I have to walk away because it's not healing, it's hurting. And so I believe, too, that's a great step in overcoming trauma, having the courage to leave.
Absolutely. Yes. You can't expect to take on huge amounts of healing for yourself and it not affect other people in your environment. It's
Wow.
going to permeate through your body and it's going to extend out into everything else
Yeah.
around you. And
Yeah.
people who are not open to healing, they will try to beat you down for healing. They
Wow.
want you to, it's just like
That
that
was
crab in the
powerful.
barrel.
Yeah.
It's like that
Say that
crab
one more time. That was powerful.
that people will try to pull you back into their trauma when they see you trying to heal yourself. They're just not able to look past what they're currently going through. They haven't had the epiphanies you had. They haven't had that spark that went off or that tragedy that happened, that car accident you were in, or that money you lost, or the, person that left you and
Yes.
whatever happened in your life. That's what happened to
Yes.
create a catalyst of change in your life, which is why you can't force someone to heal.
Yeah.
You can't talk someone into healing. They
Yeah.
have to have a spark in their life to create that. So it happened for you, which means you have to change your environment in order to nurture that.
Absolutely. I love it how you said that, it takes a sparkle to create that spark, that thing that's
Yeah,
going to get you in motion and say, hey, it's time to go. Because it's true. Many people, they are so comfortable with you being depressed, comfortable with you being sick, sad, and stuck. And the minute you are joyful, you have this new leash on
yeah,
life, right? And you're headed towards it. It's either they accuse you of you acting funny or,
yes,
support. They have all these things to
yes,
say instead of encouraging. And in your brain, you're like, time out. Shouldn't you be happy that I'm better? And
right,
yeah. And so that's when you
yeah,
have to say, you know what? I'm growing, so it's time to go. I have to
yeah,
go because if you're not careful, if you stay there trying to get there affirm of you growing, right? Or leaving, you'll be pulled back into that place. And
that's
so yeah,
right.
yeah.
You will be. It's
I,
like that crab in a barrel
mm,
analogy, right?
uh-huh.
When a crab tries to crawl out of the barrel with all the other crabs in the bottom, their instinct is to grab the crab and pull him back down with them. And that's most of the time, that's how our environment is. So if
Mm,
we don't venture out, you never been to it. I mean, okay, I'm from Detroit, in Detroit,
mhm.
Michigan. So I know people who live on the east side of Detroit that have never been to the west side. I know people from the west side that have never been to the east side. So you don't know anything but what you know.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
don't know anything but what you know. So as soon as you broaden your horizons, you
Mhm.
expand outside, you get so much such a brighter and bigger perspective. Your lens grows,
It widens.
it
Yeah.
widens. Absolutely. So you have to allow that growth and change. Once you get that spark, you have to continue to grow,
Awesome.
right?
That is so awesome. And for those of you who are watching or will watch the replay, put in the chat or the comment hashtag replay, and feel free to ask questions, leave comments for Miss Tamara Rasheed. She's throwing out some good nuggets here. I love it. Beware the crab barrel mentality. I love it. And people just trying to pull you into, their trauma. And so she had the courage to leave, right? Her own family. A lot of times we feel there's more trauma on top of that, because the place that you've
Oh,
received trauma, now you get more trauma sometimes because you're afraid to leave them because of the mentality in our head that tells us, hey, they're family, we have to stay when they're not good for us, right?
yes.
So
Yes.
when you have the courage to leave, I want you to talk about in reference to not giving away your personal power. Let's talk about that, because
Oh
I think
my
that
God.
goes right into
That's a
you
good
have
one.
the courage to leave. So how do you reclaim your personal power? First of all, what is personal power? For those
Your personal power is your ability to take leadership over your own life. That's that moment when you don't ask mom and dad for advice.
yes.
You don't ask that auntie, it doesn't mean that you still don't reference them. I'll reference you, but
Mm-hmm.
you're not the source of my decisions. My decisions are
Yes.
fueled by what is important to me and my goals. So if you don't have goals, it's difficult for you to have leadership over your own life, right?
Yes.
Because your goals are going to be to be like the people around you if you don't have goals, right? So your personal power comes into place when you decide to take a leadership over your own life. What was the next
That
part of the
good.
question?
I love that, because it reminds me of when God has delivered you from a spirit of control. Because
Mm,
we don't realize
yeah,
it is one of
yes,
the highest forms of abuse and creates
yes,
trauma, control. And
yes,
anytime you're
yes,
able to take back control, right? Take back your personal power by making your own decision. I love how you said that, to take a leadership role, because a lot of times, especially in many circles, let's just say that we are so used to asking for permission, whether it's a boss, a
mm.
spouse, in
Oh,
ministry, in other places. But now, 2020, 21, God is showing us, right? Something so different that, hey,
yes,
you are a leader. It's time to stretch out and soar. So you have to, as someone I heard great say, healed and be done with it. Just go.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. You would be
yeah.
done with it.
Heal and be done with it.
Complete your past. Complete
Mhm.
your past. I heard someone say that. So that, like, many people tend to use their past as what motivates them in the current time to do what it is that they're doing.
Mm.
They use their past as their blueprint for what to do right now in their lives. So they're always repeating these bad patterns and stuff that they had from the past that they don't want anymore. But you
Mm.
can complete your past. You can
Wow.
end it. You can finish that chapter of your life,
Wow.
you
I love
know,
that.
and
Complete
then
your task.
live in the present towards the future that you're building, right? Live your present toward your goals, toward your greatest vision for your life that you're
Yeah.
building, instead of, continually using the past as your reasons why you can't do things, you won't do things,
Yes.
you're not interested in something, you don't want that food. I guarantee if you had more money, you probably would try a truffle, for example. Okay. Just
I
because
love it. I love it. I love
a
it.
lot of stuff is context based.
Mm.
So build the context before you decide what you don't like
Yeah.
or what you won't try or what you won't, build in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Don't box yourself in based upon what you've done in the past.
I love it. I love it. So build. Complete your past, close the chapter, live in the present, not using the past as a blueprint, right? For what is
Yes,
driving you today, right now, in this moment. We stuck in the 20 years ago, this and that. No, what's happening right now? Exactly. Yeah, so I love that to take charge, right? And
yes.
continue to go.
Your goals and your vision are the blueprint that you made.
Yes.
They're the blueprint that you infused God into, that you planted seeds in. And
Mm.
that's what you're moving toward. Instead of using the things that never served you in the first place from the
Yeah.
past, you're building this blueprint where you are being served because you fit yourself in. I tell moms this all the time. If you don't create a schedule for yourself where you fit in the things you love, everybody will take all your time away and they'll never make space for you. So
Love
you
it. Yeah,
have
you
to
taught me something. Look, the coach came to another coach, so she helped me with all my work, but she helped me with this one phrase that I'm doing well at most days, but some days I'm like. But she said to me, Tamara Rasheed, Coach Rasheed said, Maurice, give yourself permission. And so
yes,
that sentence has saved my life these past almost a month now. Give yourself permission to receive love. Give yourself permission to rest. Give yourself, in this situation, permission to grow, to be great. Right? Give yourself
yes,
permission to soar and to break those curses. It doesn't matter what
yes.
else didn't do, but now it's time for you to soar.
And give yourself permission to stand in your power.
Yes, I love
Give
it.
yourself permission to be
Oh,
happy
yes.
and define whatever that means for you.
I think you need to say that again. A lot of women need to hear that, and young men. Give yourself permission to
Self
be
permission
happy.
to be happy.
Hmm, that's a good one.
Don't leave that to last. Don't be one of those people that believes that happiness is going to come after you work 40 years of your life. And for some reason, people think happiness comes after they do this thing.
Yes,
It probably there's a possibility it couldn't happen. Not to say that that's a seed you're planting, but accidents happen. Life changes in such strange ways.
yes,
So if you're putting your happiness off to this point, far off somewhere, you're pretty much dedicating your life to not being able to enjoy the journey. And the journey is what's most important. The destination is great, but it's not guaranteed.
yes.
The
I love
journey is.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. The journey is essential.
Yes.
Yes.
You can't avoid the journey.
Hmm.
Can't avoid the journey.
Yes. I love it.
So
Let's
enjoy.
go into our second question. So, if we're learning not to give away our power, allowing our past to be completed, right? That we're writing a blueprint for now, for our future, to be healed and be done with it, to give ourselves permission to be happy. And so, if we're overcoming trauma, now we've taken up our power, okay? How do we tackle the imposter syndrome?
Oh my.
And what is the imposter syndrome?
So imposter syndrome sets in when you have the skills, you have the experience, right?
Yes.
But as you put yourself out there, you start to second guess yourself. You
Mm.
start to feel like you don't really have the skills or you're not worthy to be able to take money for services that you're rendering for people,
Yes.
right? Because you feel like there's something about you that is still not quite at the level that you want it to be,
Hmm.
right? Your idea for where you want to be is always going to be different from the person looking at you.
Absolutely.
People don't know that you're not an expert until you open your mouth and you tell them
Wow, I love that. People don't know that you're an expert.
that you're not an expert.
Mm.
until you open your mouth and you tell them. People always assume you have authority.
Mm.
They always assume that you have leadership. They always assume that until you say something to down yourself, to put yourself down, or
Yeah.
to take
Yeah.
your light away, or to reduce yourself, you
Yes.
know, then, you can recover. I think that's the biggest thing. In anything that you do, you can
Mhm.
always go back and recover and do it again.
Yes.
And anything that you do, you are free to change your mind. You're
Mhm.
free to change your preferences. You're free to change what you like and you don't like. So if you
Mhm.
like something at 13 and now you're 35, you're free to change what you like.
Yes.
How
I
many
love
people have families that are like, oh, you never used to like this? Well, I
it.
was
Well,
12. you know,
right.
I didn't like peas when I was 12, but
Right. Right. But now
you
it's
know,
the benefits of peace. Right. Yes.
I
That's
can
the
tolerate
benefits of peace.
peas.
Right.
You know?
I love it. I believe that's a bondage breaker right there to tell people who are overcoming trauma that they are free to change.
Yes.
They
Yeah,
are free to change. Yes.
it's
Yes,
a
you don't have to be that wounded victim anymore. You don't have to be that damsel in distress. You don't have to be defeated just because, a diagnosis happened. That's not who you are, you
not
know.
who
Just because you made poor decisions before, that's not who you are now. So you are free to change. Give yourself permission to say I'm free. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. So like, when we talk about imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
it really is just your lack of value for yourself and what you do. You
Mm,
know, and you need validation in the form of um sometimes showcasing the results that you've gotten for people.
mm,
If you
mm.
showcase the results, then those speak for themselves and you don't have to
Yes.
verbally back what it is you do.
I love
That's
I
what
love it.
branding does.
Yes.
Branding does that for you, right?
I love
so
it. Yes.
so that it probably means you need to up your branding game so that way you have less imposter syndrome. It doesn't mean it will wipe it out altogether because the better you do, the more you do, the better people will come into your circle. Like Reese. Reese is awesome. And she's now in my circle. But
Mhm.
I never would have gotten there if I didn't give myself permission
Right.
to go after the kind of life that I wanted to have.
Yeah.
Right?
And I love where you're going with this because, a lot of times people just assume whenever you're talking about trauma that it has to do with such bad experiences that have happened in your life. But I love where you're going because this people don't realize that, yes, it might have been childhood hurts or it might have been other offenses or wounds. However, we don't realize that we can have trauma right where we are with our
Oh, sure.
workplace. There's trauma, we even take 2 minutes to discuss it. COVID-19 is traumatic. And so, how do we overcome, such a traumatic event that has happened in our life where some people don't know? How do I overcome it? How do I move forward? How do I press forward? I was on a job for 20 years and now this traumatic experience has happened. I'm not there. How do I reinvent myself, brand myself? How do I showcase results when there's not even a space to showcase them, right? Or the norm, right?
Mhm.
And so, people think it just has to do with these little independent moments, but the world is facing trauma. So, is there anything you could say about that? How to overcome
Yes.
it in this time? Yeah.
Your result is your story that you got here. So you don't need testimonials or people writing stuff for you to have a testimony from your own life.
Mm,
How you tell your own story in a healing way is how you got your result.
yes.
People will get to know you, get to
Yes.
learn how to like you and trust you
Yes.
based upon how your story heals them and how
I
it shows
love
your
it.
own healing, So that's where you start. And then everything after that, after starting, is a test.
Mm, I
Getting
love it. Everything after
started
starting.
is a test. So that means don't take it out on yourself if things don't go exactly the way you want them to go.
Yeah.
Be gentle with yourself in that process, because that's where you're learning about you. You're learning what you're capable of, and you're learning who is your perfect person for you to work with.
Hmm. Yeah. And
Yeah,
learn from your truth, right?
absolutely. Yes,
From your truth. Because healing is in your truth.
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And the last question I want to do for today is how do you step into your purpose? So they have the results, right, of their
Yes.
story, and so now they're walking in their truth. How do they step into full blown purpose?
A book that I usually recommend to people in
Mhm.
that phase of their life where they know they have purpose, and maybe things from their past are kind of beating them down, and maybe there are things that are making them second guess themselves. But there's a book called The Big Leap by a guy named Gay Hendricks. This
Wow.
book, somehow it hits all of those little internal conversations that you have with yourself about where you're going in life, and
Hmm.
it helps to illuminate where you're self-sabotaging and
Wow.
where you have an upper limit problem, where you are at this turning point in your life where you're getting close to where your purpose is, but then you start to retract.
Yeah.
It illuminates that space in your life so that you can recognize what it looks like and do something different in those moments. It's an awesome book.
And who is it by? The Big Leap is by who?
It's called, his name is Gay Hendricks, Gay. This is his first name, and then Hendricks, Hendricks.
All right.
Got it?
Big
Yes.
Leap.
The
Yes.
Big, that is an awesome book. So,
Wow.
um, but in terms of finding your purpose and
Mm-hmm.
being rooted in your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
people tend to confuse the things that they're skilled in and good at, and they have so many different skills and so many
Absolutely.
that appeal to so many different audiences and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Zone of excellence.
Yeah.
That's your zone of excellence. All these things that you are really, really good at, you spent a lot of time, maybe you got licenses, degrees, got you took classes and courses and did self-study, and you learned how to do these things so that you can make money. And those are spaces in your life where you can turn it on and do
Yeah.
that work and then turn it off and
Mm-hmm.
you're done with it, right? So that's your zone of genius.
Mm-hmm.
Your zone of, I'm sorry, your zone of excellence. Your zone of genius, however, is the thing that keeps you up at night. It's that thing that you passionately talk about, your cause. You know,
Yeah.
all your best friends sick of hearing about it, you know, because that's what you go on and on about, you know. And that is the place in your life where you are drawn to solve some kind of greater problem, or
Yeah.
in that, operating in your zone of genius
Mm-hmm.
is where uh you have one major audience
Mm-hmm.
and offer them a lot of different solutions,
Mm.
all operating in that zone of genius that you have.
I love it. I love it.
That makes sense. So it's one of them. You have many, many, many skills, many things that you had a lot of time and credibility and things behind, but you can turn it on and turn it off. It's like work.
Yes.
Okay. But then the other thing is something that lives inside you. It lives in you, and it lives inside the people that you you give those good messages and things to.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
something they believe in, something you believe in. It's a cause. That's your purpose. That's where your purpose is driving you. So
Mm.
you have to determine and create that separation. Like, okay, these are good things I'm good at.
Yeah.
My genius over
Yeah.
here.
Wow.
When you operate in your zone of genius, then your ability to live a life of purpose is then heightened.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love how you painted such a clear picture between goals, right? And your purpose. Yeah, because a lot of people, they stay in the goal area or their talents or skills versus their gifts,
Yes.
like what you're born to do. Some things, like you say, you've gone to school, you've learned this, but what were you born to do? And a lot of times we spend
Yes.
so much time and the skills, right? And we don't focus on what were you born to do, like that thing that you're born to get paid your highest worth. And the days that you couldn't get paid, you still would be satisfied because that's what you were born to do. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now let's make a deeper separation too, because
Awesome.
there are people that have bleeding hearts. They have deep needs, deeper than you
Mm.
can solve, to
Yeah.
be honest, because they have their own traumas, and their traumas are preventing them from being able to solve those problems in their own lives.
Yeah.
You've been able to overcome those challenges because you had those sparks go off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, I can't deal with this anymore. And you changed your environment and you went through
Mm-hmm.
those processes of giving yourself permission and all that. They
Yeah.
haven't done that yet, right? So there's a difference between having a nonprofit and a
Yes.
for-profit business.
Yes. Absolutely. Go there. Go there. I think you're helping a
Different.
lot of people today.
Yes, there's a difference between creating a nonprofit that serves the needs of people that can't afford typical services, but you can bring in grants and donations and fundraise and all this kind of stuff to help them with their healing processes and providing programs. But if you have a for-profit program, the expectation is that those people will come to you and put skin in the game. They're going
Yeah.
to invest in themselves by taking you on as a coach or a mentor,
Mhm.
somebody in their life, and they'll show you that they value you, what they're receiving by providing value. And
Absolutely.
that's the law of reciprocity. It's
And I love it.
reciprocal
That
in my
was valuable, valuable because a lot of people want healing, but they don't want to do the work. I mean, stay the course, stay at the table. Because sometimes we can get at the table and
yeah,
then we're ready to get up as when the meal gets tough and tight and hard to chew the meat, and we start, and we take away the potatoes and the sweets, and we say, no, you got to eat the vegetables. These are the things you have to do. A lot of people don't want to do that, and that's where
yes,
bring this full circle. This is where even your business decisions either impact to show whether you've overcome trauma or you're still dealing with the rudiment or residue of trauma. The
yes,
people that they want help, but then they're not willing to stay, and then they're not willing to pay as well. And so those are where hard decisions have to be made because you have valued yourself, right? You value
that's
the
right.
work, the commitment, and the years of not just schooling but the personal development that you have to go through and work through those pain points, and you want
Absolutely.
to help other people. But trauma, overcoming trauma, is when you're ready to also, I could say too as a coach, when you're ready to invest in yourself by going to the expert and then being able to stay the course, but also pay their worth, the worth that they're giving, the value they're giving, right? But also to know that you're worth the investment by doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
And so,
And
what do
that
you
you're
say to that? Because I know a lot of coaches all across the world, not just Facebook or YouTube, but all across the world. A lot of coaches. Some are very, very successful, and some are in the middle. Some are not, and they're struggling because many people they started, but they don't finish the course.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's important to know that it's a journey in itself and it's a process in itself. And it's when you want to elevate your life, it's going to bring those things out in you. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to have to face the things that you've been through in order to elevate.
Absolutely.
There's just no way to avoid it because those things color the way you look at life.
Mm.
They
Yeah.
color the way you look at life. And in order for you to look at life in a different way, to change your thinking, to think differently, to have a shift in your belief about what you're capable of and what you have access to. Because, you know, we're often, and I will say that this as a Black person, we're often we often put ourselves in a position where we think we are only capable of doing certain things.
Hmm.
And that's why you see so much stuff about first Black person doing this and first Black person doing that. I mean, it's a big deal for us to act in our purpose, to
Yes.
break free of trauma and to actually go after things that we really want to go after. That's a huge deal. And we look for each other.
Yes.
We look for people that look like us that are succeeding in these different places.
Yes.
And that is so important. It's really important.
Yes.
So you have to face the things that you've been through in order to fix it. And for some people, it goes so far back, you know, that you're not only healing you, but you're healing all your future generations. It's
Absolutely.
that heavy, you know, and it
It is,
feels
you know,
like
and
that.
because it's about legacy. That's where I am in my life.
It
It's
is.
about building legacy.
Yes.
You know, there's nothing we can do about our ancestors. There's nothing we can do about even our parents to some degree, as you shared, and I have my personal truth, you know. But we're responsible for our children, our children's children, and we want them to not have this defeated mentality or feel like everything is impossible. They can do all things, when they
Yes.
believe and they know who Christ is. They can do it, and so we have to set the pattern. We have to be the blueprint that we don't ask for permission. We use wisdom and we go for it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Absolutely. That all permission is internal. All your permission is internal.
I love
And
it.
you know, if you feel like you can't do something or you're not living the life that you should be living, you got to look inside. What are you
Absolutely.
telling? What story do you keep on repeat in
Yeah.
your heart, in your mind, where
Mm.
you're not living the life that you want to be living?
Yes.
You know, you can stop that record, stop that 8 track, take it out, put that 45 to the side,
Right.
you know, and
I love it.
play a different track
Yeah. Stop
with
telling the
your own voice.
story.
Matter of
Yeah.
fact, that's what I suggest people do to help rewire your brain back to where you need it to be. You
Yeah.
repeat affirmations to yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, the Bible is full of beautiful affirmations that you
Yeah.
can tell yourself to empower yourself and bring you toward healing. It
Yes.
absolutely is. You can write down any number of those and
Yes.
then just record them in your own voice and
Hmm.
play them for yourself. And then you're telling your own subconscious what it believes is already true,
Yes.
right?
I love it. I love that was a great pivot. That was a great pivot. Yeah, yeah. To bring it back to our roots too, which is the word and how the word
Yes.
powerful, right? It says the word is powerful, sharper than a two-edged sword. It reaches down to our bone marrows. And so,
Yes.
we have to love ourselves to be able to say and speak what we want, right? Speak it and recite it. I love how you use that tip to be able to record it and then play it over and over. And there's power in voice
It
because
is.
voice is what creates vision. And so if you
Yes.
say it, then you can see it. And if you see it, then you believe it. And once you believe it, then you'll become it. And so,
Yes.
yeah, and so I love that. That was a powerful way to end, to be able to encourage somebody that, hey, if you're having trouble retraining, right? Retraining your brain, getting out the story, then start affirming what you want. Don't focus on what you don't have or who you aren't, but who are you right now? And who do you want to become? And use the promises of God to be able to recalibrate, right? Recalibrate
Yes.
your thinking. I love that.
I
Recalibrate.
love it.
I love it. I love it. I thank you so much for coming. I thank you so much for coming. I want you to be able to share with people last words and where could they reach you. And so once again, this is Mrs. Tamara Rasheed, and she is from Michigan. Michigan,
Yes.
Michigan.
In Detroit.
Yes,
That's
Detroit,
right.
Michigan. And she also has a legacy program where she does an accelerated program for self-publishing authors, where you can write, publish, and market your books. And so all the authors, all the scribes, right? All the scribes.
Right. Yes.
For Miss Tamara Rasheed, she has an awesome accelerated program that will help you launch.
Yes, I actually have a master class coming up February 12th.
Wow.
And it's a 2-hour master class where you work hands-on with me to
Mhm.
either create your branded book or recreate a branded book that you've already made that you want to change. And it's a 2-hour class. It's $97 for that. So if you're interested, find me on Facebook.
Yes. Awesome. Any other sites, Miss T?
I have a website, but it's not connected to the domain, so it's a little long. But we can put it in the comments to this post. That's okay with you?
Sure. I'll put it in now. Give me a second. And then for those who want it, this is the book by the Mr. Gay Hendricks. That's the book
Yep,
that Tamara Rasheed recommended. And then, do you want to put it in, or do you want me to put it in? What is the website?
I am going to put it. I'll put it in our private chat. Do you see it there? And then maybe you can add it to there. You see it in the private chat on StreamYard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See if I can copy it. All right. Any last minute words?
I know. I'm looking forward to people coming on. Add me as a friend. Let's have a conversation, and we'll see what you want to create, because it's really about you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is about you. And so as we close here, the last how to step into purpose, don't give up your power, and tackle the imposter syndrome. And so here is her website. Take a minute to write that down. And we want to say thank you for coming on and being able to share some wisdom. You gave a lot of rich nuggets, not just on for business, so many nuggets that you shared. I'm trying to copy and paste it. All right. All right, so do me a favor. You could just tell me. All right, it's Write Smart, right? WW.
Yes. Write Smart, Profit Hard.
Okay, profit.
And then it's dot site Rubix. It's the worst name in the world.
SITE.
Yeah, RUBIX.
Okay.
.com.
All right.
And it will be legacybestsellers.com very shortly. It's just in process of transferring. So
I love
it doesn't pop up under that, it will come up under legacybestsellers.com.
All right.
It's in process.
Cool. So we have, there we go. Write Smart, Profit Hard, site Rubix.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it is. Write Smart. Yes. I think you need to take the www off the front though, because it's a HTTPS.
All right. All right. So it's Write Smart, Profit Hard site Rubik.com.
Yes, that's right.
All right. Yeah, we look forward to legacy.
Yeah, it's in process. It's literally transferring now.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
It won't be this complicated.
No problem. But we thank you for coming to placetoconsider.com. So those who are watching a replay, put hashtag replay and be able to write some comments, some encouragement, and join Miss Tamara Rasheed on her Facebook and go to her website. All right. Thank you for coming and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.